Chandamama Ramayana Part 5. The great sage Vishwamitra, accompanied by Rama and Lakshman, journeyed toward the northeast and arrived at the site where King Janaka was performing a grand yajna, sacred sacrifice. Surrounding the sacrificial hall were numerous dwellings for sages. Vishwamitra, too, had a residence arranged for their stay. In the meantime, King Janaka learned of Vishwamitra's arrival. He came to receive him along with his priest Shatananda and offered ritual worship with Arghya and Padya, sacred water offerings. King Janaka informed Vishwamitra that 12 days remained for the completion of his sacrifice. Looking at Rama and Lakshman, he inquired, "Who are these royal youths? Whose sons are they?" Vishwamitra introduced Rama and Lakshman to Janaka and revealed, "These boys have come here primarily to see if it is possible to string the mighty bow that is in your possession." Shatananda, who served as the priest for Janaka, was the eldest son of Ahalya and Gautama. He was filled with immense joy upon hearing that his mother had been liberated from her curse by Rama and that his father, who had left after cursing her, had returned to the hermitage. Turning toward Rama, he said, "O Rama, you are indeed blessed to have earned the grace of this great sage Vishwamitra. Listen, for I shall narrate the extraordinary life story of this high-souled being." As everyone gathered there listened intently, Shatananda began the chronicle of Vishwamitra's life. Lord Brahma's son was Kusha. To him was born Kushnabha. Vishwamitra was born as the son of Gadhi, the son of Kushnabha, and he ruled as a king for a long time. During his reign, while traveling with an Akshauhini, a massive division of the army, he arrived at the hermitage of the great sage Vasishtha. Filled with sages immersed in penance, the hermitage appeared like a second Brahmaloka, abode of Brahma. Vasishtha offered hospitality to Vishwamitra. After exchanging pleasantries and engaging in a brief friendly conversation, Vasishtha expressed his desire to host a feast for the king and his entire entourage. "The very sight of you is a great feast for me. Why the need for another?" Vishwamitra replied, preparing to depart. However, Vasishtha insisted and called upon his divine cow, Shabala, the Kamadhenu, and asked her to prepare a feast for everyone consisting of all varieties of food, those to be bitten, swallowed, licked, and sipped, incorporating all 6 tastes. Shabala did as commanded. Greatly delighted by the feast, Vishwamitra said, "O Maharshi, please give Shabala to me. In exchange, I shall give you 100,000 cows. All precious things rightfully belong to the king. Therefore, by law, this celestial cow should be mine." Vasishtha replied, "O king, I shall not part with Shabala even for 100 billion cows. She is my only wealth. My entire hermitage depends upon her." Vishwamitra offered as much gold as Vasishtha desired. He offered heaps of gems. He pleaded for Shabala by any means. When Vasishtha refused, Vishwamitra resolved to take her by force. Shabala, being dragged away by the king's soldiers, escaped their grip, bellowing and weeping. She ran to Vasishtha's feet and cried, "What injustice is this?" Vasishtha asked Shabala, "Vishwamitra is a powerful man who has come with an Akshauhini army. I do not possess such strength. What can I do?" The celestial cow replied, "What is the strength of Vishwamitra before the power of your penance? I shall myself create the forces capable of annihilating these armies. Grant me permission." As the Kamadhenu bellowed, countless Pahalvas emerged and began to crush Vishwamitra's forces. Vishwamitra mounted his chariot and began to discharge divine missiles, astras, against these forces. The Kamadhenu continued to create Shakas, Kambojas, Haritas, and Kiratas, who decimated Vishwamitra's army. Seeing this, Vishwamitra's 100 sons rushed toward Vasishtha with weapons. With a single roar, Omkara, the sage reduced all 100 of them to ashes. His entire army was lost and his 100 sons perished in an instant. Vishwamitra suffered an unbearable humiliation. Like a bird with clipped wings, he entrusted the burden of the kingdom to his sole remaining son and went to the Himalayas to perform penance dedicated to Lord Shiva. After some time, Lord Shiva appeared and asked him to choose a boon. Vishwamitra requested mastery over all divine missiles presided over by the Devas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, and Rakshasas, and that the entire science of archery, Dhanurveda, be known to him in its entirety. Shiva granted his wish and vanished. Intending to destroy Vasishtha with the missiles thus acquired, Vishwamitra entered Vasishtha's hermitage and began to set it ablaze with his weapons. The sages there fled in all directions. plants, birds and animals escaped. In a moment, the hermitage became desolate. Vasishtha, filled with righteous indignation, raised his Brahmadanda, the staff of Brahma, and confronted Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra discharged the Agnyastra, fire missile, but as soon as it touched Vasishtha's Brahmadanda, it was extinguished. Vishwamitra discharged hundreds of other missiles, but Vasishtha's Brahmadanda swallowed them all. Flames and sparks began to emanate from the Brahmadanda and Vasishtha's body. Other sages approached Vasishtha and pleaded, "O Maharshi, you have conquered Vishwamitra. Pray, be calm." Vishwamitra realized, what is the strength of a Kshatriya warrior before the spiritual power of a Brahman? I shall attain the status of a Brahmarshi through penance. Thinking thus, he went to the south with his wife and performed severe penance. During that time, he had 4 sons, Havishanda, Madhushanda, Gridhanitra, and Mahartha. Eventually, Brahma appeared and told Vishwamitra, "By your penance, the worlds of a Rajarshi, royal sage, have been won by you. Henceforth, you shall be known by all as a Rajarshi." Vishwamitra was not satisfied with the title of Rajarshi. He desired to be called a Brahmarshi. Therefore, he resumed his penance. During that time, a king of the Ikshvaku dynasty named Trishanku desired to go to heaven in his physical body. When he expressed this wish to his family preceptor Vasishtha, the sage declared it impossible. Trishanku then went to the sons of Vasishtha in the south, hoping they might help. They became angry and told him to return the way he came. Refusing to relent, Trishanku insulted them and said he would seek refuge elsewhere. Enraged, the 100 sons of Vasishtha cursed him to become a Chandala outcast. Due to the curse, Trishanku took on a dark form, wore black clothes, and donned iron ornaments. He sought refuge with Vishwamitra, the archenemy of Vasishtha. After hearing Trishanku's story, Vishwamitra promised, "I shall send you to heaven in this very form." He initiated a sacrifice and sent his disciples to invite all the sages. All came except a sage named Mahodaya and the sons of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra cursed those who did not attend. The sacrifice began, but the Devas did not appear to accept the offerings. Havis. Furious, Vishwamitra said to Trishanku, "I shall send you to heaven using the power I have earned through all my years of penance." While all the sages watched, Trishanku rose upward in his physical body and reached heaven. However, Indra and the other Devas would not allow Trishanku to enter heaven and pushed him back down. Falling headlong, Trishanku cried out, "O great soul, save me." In a fit of rage, Vishwamitra created another constellation of the 7 sages, Saptarishi, and new stars in the southern direction, declaring, "I shall create another heaven and new gods as well." The Devas and sages, frightened, approached Vishwamitra and asked, "O great one, how can Trishanku, who is under a curse, stay in heaven?" Vishwamitra replied, "I have given my word to send him to heaven in his body. That must come to pass." An arrangement was made where Trishanku would remain eternally suspended upside down among the newly created stars, and Vishwamitra would cease his attempt to create new gods. Later, Vishwamitra left the south and went to a great forest of penance called Pushkara in the west to resume his austerities. At that time, in Ayodhya, King Ambarisha began a sacrifice, but Indra stole the sacrificial animal. The royal priest told the king that he must recover the animal or offer a human as a substitute. Unable to find the animal, Ambarisha set out in search of a human sacrifice. In the mountain region of Bhrigutunda, a sage named Richika lived with his wife and children. Ambarisha approached him, told his story, and prayed, "I shall give 100,000 cows. Please give one of your sons as the sacrificial victim." Richika refused to give his eldest son, and his wife refused to give the youngest. The second son was Shunashipa. He said to the king, "There is no need to say more. My parents are ready to sell me. Take me with you as the sacrificial victim." While accompanying Ambarisha, Shunashipa suffered from the midday heat and reached Vishwamitra's hermitage. Seeing Vishwamitra, he fell into his lap, told his story, and wept, begging for protection. Vishwamitra, moved by pity, said to his own 4 sons, "Become the sacrificial victims in his place and save him." They ignored their father and refused his command. Furious, Vishwamitra cursed his sons just as Vasishtha's sons had been cursed. Vishwamitra then taught Shunashipa to sacred mantras and said, "When you are bound to the sacrificial post as the victim, recite these mantras. The god of fire, Agnihotra, will then be favorable to you." It happened exactly Exactly so. In Ambarisha's sacrifice, Shunashipa was smeared with red sandalwood, dressed in red clothes, and bound to the post with darbha grass. He then chanted the two mantras in his mind. Indra appeared before him and granted him a long life. Thus ends the fifth part of the Chandamama Ramayana. For now, Swasti.